A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine. Wouldn't it be fantastic if, with a special technique or knowledge, for example from Russia, we could heal and support our own body on all levels in such a way that we no longer need any help from outside, no more medicine cabinets or remedies and powders, and who knows, maybe we already have that. And this is exactly the topic I would like to talk to my guest about today. Unfortunately, he couldn't come in person, but he's connected from Mallorca. And I am very happy that he is here, at least on the screen today. Hello, Pierre.
Hello, Karina. Thank you very much for the invitation and connection.
Maybe just a few words about yourself. Maybe you can introduce yourself in a few sentences that our viewers get an impression. What are you doing in Mallorca? Who you are?
Yeah. I have had a very varied life. I was in international top management in professional sports for 25 years. That was tennis, Formula One, football, triathlon. And I did that with a lot of passion, and the topic of regeneration often came up. And how to protect professional athletes from injuries, how to improve endurance, how to make them mentally more resilient, and so on and so forth. And then I couldn't let go of the topic of regeneration, especially since I also initiated sports medicine symposiums. I directed various tennis tournaments, and I've also been on the road a lot with the physiotherapist. And then I simply said that I have to use these technologies, for which then the contacts came to me. I'll put it this way. In English, you'd say I got a calling. I have to do it. And then it's fortunate that I have fantastic access to information that's printed nowhere. And they have multiplied. I also have a circle of friends of top experts who simply know things you can't even read about anywhere. And luckily I was able to process one or the other piece of information for myself. I'm running my cell energy centre here now, and it's all about cell energy. Because the point is, illness is defined as an absence of energy, and health is defined as energy or energy flow plus cell communication. The lack of energy can be noticed relatively quickly. If I have a lot of stress and so on, I'm just low on energy. If I have a lot of toxins in me, I'm low on energy. If I eat completely wrong, too much alcohol, too much smoking, whatever, these are all energy robbers. If I have a wife who doesn't love me very much and insults me every day, then I'm low in energy. They're all energy robbers. It can be lifestyle, it can be professional circumstances. It can be mould on the wall. It can be over-acidification, all energy robbers. I have to eliminate them first. And on the one hand, I have to look, as I said, at energy flow and cell communication. And cell communication has a lot to do with mitochondria, because the mitochondria are our energy centres. And to our fuel, that's called ATP. They attach photons to transmit information, we know that today. And then I need a bunch of vitamin D3, otherwise cell communication doesn't work either. And then you just have to see that you bring the body back into the best possible position, where it used to be before over-acidification. It's said that 85% of Europeans are overly acidic from toxin deposits. So we get it with every fruit that you buy. You also had a small toxin injection at the same time. We often get water that's not really good. And then we have a cell milieu that may not be great either. Now, I just have to see that the cell environment, and that's actually water, because our body consists of 99% water molecules. Only every 100th molecule in a human body is not a water molecule. Okay, it can be a lot heavier. It can be a muscle protein with a million atoms. Therefore, non-water molecules make up about 30% of the weight of an adult person. The water molecules, the rest, so 70%. And this is the cell milieu. And already Dr. Otto Warburg once said in 1931, a two-time Medicine Nobel Prize winner, in a basic oxygen-rich cell environment, no disease can develop, not even cancer. This has remained unchallenged to this day. So, what do I have to do? I have to optimise the cell environment. And what is an optimal cell environment? This is hexagonally structured, pure water, which is an ingenious solvent for delivery of nutrients. To remove consumables, toxins, viruses, bacteria, I have to do that. On the other hand, I have to enrich the body, especially the cells, with enough energy. And with the cells, it was found out that there is a cell electrics. A healthy cell has an electrical cell membrane voltage of minus 70 millivolts. A diseased, mutated cell or tumour cell is 50 millivolts or less. A tumour cell, for example, only has 15 millivolts. So what do I have to do? I have to sort of raise that millivolt number back up to make the cell healthy again, because if the cell membrane tension's too low, the permeability of the cell membrane changes, and the ion exchange, sodium-potassium pump no longer works properly, the oxygen supply no longer works properly. At 15 millivolts, it's even the case that oxygen can no longer pass. The cell has to switch to fermentation as then a tumour cell, so I have to supply energy there.
How exactly do you do that?
Well, I've now prepared a small video that you should perhaps take a quick look at now. I'm talking about energising.
Let's take a look.
And the handheld probe doesn't even have to touch the fluorescent tube. What does that mean? I transmit pure electrical energy wirelessly. And that's what the Russian bioengineers managed to do on the basic invention of Nikola Tesla, the greatest scientist of all time, because he discovered a scalar wave. It's a longitudinal electromagnetic wave, matterless. And they've managed not only to modulate information frequencies, as with radio signals, with the Hertzian wave, but also pure energy signals, namely pure electricity. Here, the engineers have made it so that we receive minus 70 millivolt pulses into the body. And they help the body to bring this electrical cell membrane voltage up again.
That was the technology back then, where Tesla managed to make a floor lamp light up even though it didn't have a cable.
Yeah, he also managed, via his giant towers, on the one hand, to generate electric current, but on the other hand, to conduct it wirelessly via the ionosphere. In another tower, he pulled it down again. It's all thanks to his invention, his discovery of the scalar wave. And the scalar wave is a matterless wave, and there you can transmit electricity without a cable. And that's what we do with it. And so what we're bringing into the body now is those minus 70 millivolt pulses to help the body, to drive the electrical cell membrane voltage up again. And there's another important aspect. How do the signals find the worst cells? This is where the second cell electrical aspect comes into play. Namely, a bad cell or a mutated cell, an inflamed cell, has a lower electrical resistance. A tumour cell still has 300 ohms. A healthy cell has 2,500 ohms. Where does electricity go? As with water, to where it finds the lowest resistance. So the impulse always finds the cell where the electrical cell membrane voltage has to be raised.
And then what happens to the cell? It then increases. But how do I feel this, or what happens then?
Well, then the tumour cell can develop back into a healthy cell. If that works. It can also break under the tension, then it's eliminated, which isn't bad either. With tumour cells or cancer cells, we have the problem that this so-called apoptosis, so the controlled cell death by the mitochondria, no longer takes place, because the tumour cells usually remain stuck to the cell membrane. Normally, when cells divide, you have an old cell that divides, you get a new one, and the old one dies. This is called apoptosis. Then it's gone, and the process no longer works with tumour growth. But there is a trick. Dr. Johanna Budwig once found that out, a German scientist. With an oil protein diet, you can practically supply electrons to the old cell that cannot go via an oil protein. Then it's more electrons in the citrate cycle, and then it can separate and die. So there are other solutions. But with the antenna, it's just like that. I manage again. I'm helping the body to raise the electrical cell membrane tension again. And then the sodium-potassium pump works again. Then the oxygen supply works again. Then it works again, and it also recognises the control signals.
So you simply give the body the opportunity to improve all processes. If we say over-acidification is the main cause of diseases, then we have all these de-acidification mechanisms through the hexagonal water. We already had an interview about that. So I can use the cell tuner on the one hand on the body and thus support it, stimulate the broken cells, and at the same time structure the water too.
I'm raising the energy everywhere. Well, let's talk about mitochondria. Mitochondria are the energy centres of our body, but they're also, as I said earlier, responsible for this apoptosis process. They must have 10 scientifically important tasks. Cell communication and everything, they have to be well for us to be fine. If we have bad mitochondria, they get worse as we age. They don't like hyperacidity. They don't like electric smog. We have to see that they are as good as possible. And we have trillions of them inside us. And what can we do there? Well, the Russian bioengineers managed to do that too. They bring in an in-phase frequency via their antenna, like the natural vibration of the mitochondria, into the body, especially into the mitochondria. And what happens then? I have the natural vibration frequency of the mitochondria. Now the in-phase frequency is added, which is also like this. Then the amplitude adds up. It's this high. Then I have more energy of my own. This means with the antenna, I achieve that all mitochondria have more energy throughout the body, because these electromagnetic signals reach all the mitochondria in the body instantaneously, travelling at 186,000 miles per second. And we now know that electromagnetic signals have a 100 times stronger effect on cells than any supplements or any medication. 100 times stronger, and above all, immediately.
And if I now have a sick cell, it has a weak vibration, doesn't it?
If the mitochondria are not good, or if they're overly acidic, then the mitochondria are no longer working as well. And many of the actual processes no longer actually run. Then you might have to add, well, there's a credo that I always like to follow because I'm 100% convinced of it. Someone once said that nature is a miracle. Nature doesn't make mistakes. We are part of nature. Let's say we believe in it. Then I just have to reduce or eliminate the impairments of nature and support nature in doing what it can, because it can do everything. It's so incredibly complex, so incredibly ingenious. There's no disease that nature cannot defeat. When we have a strong immune system, then we don't live in fear and dread. When we're not under stress, when we're not exposed to electric smog, there's nothing that nature cannot solve. We have the complete medicine cabinet, hence that term. We have endorphins, we have regeneration hormones, we have melatonin, we have it all. And when we get a wound, the body releases H2O2 there to neutralise pathogens, germs, viruses, bacteria. For the pH, we have a buffer control, over 70% via bicarbonate, which the body can produce itself. The body can do anything, it can repair anything. We have to let it, we have to support it. We must not permanently impair it, so to speak, and add so much garbage. If we constantly only take in toxins, you are what you eat, what should come out of it. If every day I take in the most important food there is, in a bad quality, if I drink bad water, how am I supposed to be healthy? It's just not possible. Then I have high blood pressure, then I have clots in the blood. I have the best flow rates in my blood with the hexagonal water, which is basically done with this handheld probe. I don't have rouleau formation in my blood and poor oxygen supply. Then the plaques in the veins, arteries are broken down and washed out because nothing can dissolve in this hexagonal water. It's being flushed out, so I have detox and purification. There's also an extremely reduced risk of cysts, fibroids, or anything like that. So I've so many active complexes, and then all the cells get it. It's like that. Even in 100-year-old people, apart from a few nerve cells and a few heart muscle cells, not a single cell is older than 7 years. Alberto Villoldo in the US wrote that this, and he scientifically confirmed many times, a skin cell forms again from 14 to 28 days. Mitochondria from 20 minutes to 30 days, so everything's new at some point. The whole body has renewed itself 10 times. Then I always wondered, if we now have a new skin cell every 14 to 28 days, why does this new cell reproduce an old appearance? It's a valid question. Why is this new skin cell forming a scar? The point is, it has new control signals. Now, I have to manage to bring in the old native control signals into this process. Then this cell can reproduce the new one. And with a hand probe, that was Tesla's ingenuity. We managed to get native control signals into cells, cell units, organs, body systems, then the body can do something good again, where it originally had the job to do it, because there's an original blueprint for everything. This original blueprint that's not stored in the DNA, we know that today, that's sort of in the energy field. That's between the atomic nuclei and the electrons. That's where this original blueprint is stored, and it can activate it. And by the way, I can do that too, via mental work, and this is no longer esoteric today. It's science today. Dr. Joe Dispenza put this in motion. He wrote a book, You Are the Placebo. He wrote a book, Becoming Supernatural. And he did courses and so on. That's natural science today. It's not esoteric. He can prove how I can reactivate these original blueprints. He had test subjects. After 3 or 4 days, they could activate very specific genes in the DNA and this original blueprint to trigger certain repair processes. That is, one had fatigue syndrome, the other had cartilage damage, the other had inflammation. Then they could measure exactly which genes had been activated, and they have been activated through the reactivation of the original blueprint that defines us.
Would also mean that if you have scar tissue, for example, which is obviously dead, and I'm now using this antenna,
there will definitely be an improvement. You still have to take accompanying measures. Silicon is a basic building block. Silicon, a few minerals, magnesium, vitamin E, biotin. You should always come to the body with the widest possible offer. Where can I support it to produce more collagen? Turmeric plays a huge role, for example. When I want to repair nerve cells, then the body has a repair enzyme called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. The body can produce that if I provide it with omega-3 fatty acids, with turmeric. Then there's a repair enzyme for an antioxidant, for glutathione. I need plants containing chlorophyll plus turmeric. Then there's a repair enzyme, or the most powerful antioxidant that the body can produce itself, that's called superoxide dismutase. It's also heavily involved in collagen synthesis. What do I need there? I need pterostilbene or blueberries and such things, again with turmeric, and that already shows nature has something for everything. And I can actually tell the body, I have a medicine cabinet, I just have to open the right drawer, and that's where a bit of knowledge from the dietary supplement sector helps me. And that's where the cell tuner helps me incredibly.
Do you also irradiate the food or the products?
You can irradiate the products, especially fruit or juices or something like that. But you can also overdo it. Anything that has liquid in it can be optimized. That's the way it is.
And especially with turmeric, in what form do you take it in? I heard now it seems to be a central key. How do you integrate that?
Yeah, I have my tradition. What do I do every morning? That is, I start with a glass and slices of turmeric go in there. Ginger slices, a bit of black pepper, because with berberine, the effect of turmeric is amplified about 1,000-fold as a catalyst. And then I add a little hot water, not too hot though, hexagonal water that was previously irradiated, and that's my first drink of the day. And that's half the battle. I read an incredible number of American studies on all sorts of major widespread diseases, chronic diseases, inflammation, and so on. There isn't a single study where turmeric doesn't play a paramount role.
And now, of course, I see. Where do you get your turmeric from? From which sources? Because now everything comes somehow, even the ginger comes from China. I don't know, it looks completely different too.
Well, I'm assuming in the organic store where I buy this, it's local. I'm assuming now, I haven't checked. There are also only 2 stores where I can get it, but as a vegetable. I always prefer it as close as possible to nature. If you can't have it, then I'm sure a capsule is fine too, but I prefer to be as close to nature as possible. Strictly speaking, you should be self-sufficient. Go into the garden in the morning, get that, and then cut and eat, like in a salad, because that's where I have the most biophotons, that's where I have the most information and energy for the body. Everything inside as fresh as possible. Fresh carrots. We have an orchard here, so you can do that from time to time.
Great, now you have a practice. when we look at the medicine cabinet, are there a few cases where you say, oh wow, just through the work with these people alone, I can see that I could perhaps do without many medications or already benefit immediately?
Well, there are countless cases. A very blatant case was a herpes zoster case in the face. The man was mistreated for a year and a half. We made a lot of progress very quickly. There are many things like that, but let me say half the battle is, in Germany they now say from the statistics that we have 9% diabetics. How can it be? If the German Ministry of Health would take care of giving people the best water, energetically purified hexagonal water, then I'd ask myself, how many are left with this measure alone?
Have you had good experiences there, especially with diabetes?
I'm not allowed to say so much, but I can say that in a private conversation, but the results, they're amazing.
So it's worth taking a look at.
High-frequency energy has been around for a long time, and here we have a further development of Russian bioengineers. With a few German engineers, it's unbeatable for me now. But already 100 years ago, there was high-frequency energy. The basic technology of Tesla was considered there. Dr. Likovsky, he built other devices. He wrote a book in 1934 called The Multi-Wave Oscillator, and then the introduction there is exciting. That's where he was on page 10, top right. I can remember that quite well. The apparatus was successfully used in Italy, Spain, Belgium, Holland, Sweden, Uruguay, and so on. Now comes the next sentence, and he was an engineer. He then writes, everywhere the results have exceeded all hopes. And he actually did a monitoring all over the world. And you have to know, around 1934, the amount of radio frequency energy devices, and that's only possible if something works, exceeded 500,000 in Germany alone. They were banned in 1938. And in the US, there was a similar case. There was a scientist called Royal Raymond Rife. And back then, he also worked with high frequencies, bioresonances and so on, only with electromagnetic oscillations and so on in fields. And at that time, they gave him 16 cancer patients who'd finished therapy. Incidentally, in the past, cancer patients were not so easy to find on the street. That's a more recent phenomenon. And the Robert Koch Institute now says that in the future, so in 2020, for the first time, we'll have over 510,000 new cases of cancer. And then I asked myself, what have they done with the last 3 billion of money in the last 10 years in cancer research? That it's increasing so rapidly and that we can't do anything about it. Something's wrong. Well, it doesn't. Anyway, this Rife managed, within 4 weeks, to heal 14 of them completely. And it took him another 2 weeks for 2 more. And there was a huge cover story in a newspaper there, the Washington Post or something, I can't remember, that this is a revolution in cancer therapy. That was the last article that was found about him. And Tesla said 100 years ago, if you want to talk about the mysteries of the universe, if you want to find them, you can only do it through energy, vibration, frequencies. And with that, I achieve everything. And we are electromagnetic beings. And this cell tuner uses this bundle knowledge from Tesla, from Likovsky, and the Russian bioengineers who have been developing it for the last 50 years. For the benefit of the people. It's a gift from Tesla to humanity. That's how I see it. And I've seen so many miracles here. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say what miracles I've seen, but I'd like to. Maybe someday I'll be able to. I can't at the moment.
Yes, but it's always impressive to hear that we already had so much knowledge and still have, and also got it made available. If you want to find out more, where can you look, read?
We have a lot of documents and also field reports on all the topics on quantisana.ch. There's a whole lot of information there. We've also done a lot of videos and interviews. I myself, I'm an enthusiastic fan. This is the supreme technology of all time.
Yes, you really feel it. You put your heart and soul into it. Thank you for your time and the great interview. Good luck with your great work in Mallorca.
Well, I'm not worried about that at all.
I'm not worried about that either. Thank you, dear Pierre. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The frequency therapy seems to be a really great thing, especially nowadays where we also have many new technologies, possibilities, or should fall back on already old knowledge to get through the time as best as possible. I hope you were able to take something with you. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye.